Okay, now we're going to configure time intelligence on the source. The configuration of time intelligence is highly dependent on the source. And the first thing I want to show you is why we are going to be at variance from what you will run across in the real world. I've got SQL Server Management Studio up here, and I'm browsed into the cube, the operation cube. And I'm looking at sales amount, which I took off of the sales measure right here. And then I added in the calendar year hierarchy as I came down. I actually added in the year, drilling on down calendar year, and added in the year just so I can see where I actually have data. So 7, 8, and 9 has data. So if I were to set up a data connection starting in like 11, I have no data in there, and this would be a really terrible demonstration. So you can see, so you want to go in and look at it. In the real world, your data marts are going to have current data as you go through, but that's not the case with some of my sample databases. So now that we see why we're going to make some changes that you might find odd, let's go through and do the configuration. So I'm over here in Dashboard Designer, and I'm just going to go down here and select my connection into the cube, and I'm going to right-click it, and I'm going to copy it, go into SSAS, the folder, and I'm going to paste it, wait for it to come on in, and now I'm going to go on over to the properties, and let me close up the details down here so you can see it a little better. I'm going to immediately change the display folder. I'm going to create one down here, and this is going to be 5.10. All right, so we've got that. Oh, fudge. Rename 5.10. All right, she liked it that time. I put a space in there. And we're going to say OK. And now I'm going to name this. This is into the cube, but this is going to be with time intel. I can take white space here, just so I can differentiate it. So I'm in time intelligence. Again, on the editor, I'm tied into the student server, the Blue Buffalo Press retail, and into my formatting dimension, which is measures. Now we'll go over to time. This is where the configuration is, and let me move this over so you can see it a little cleaner. Now as I drill down here, Analysis Services has no native concept of time. So if I came down here and picked some dimension that really was not a time dimension, it would say fine, you know, and just go along with me. But we're going to go with the date dimension and then the calendar year, quarter, month, day, hierarchy. So I'm going to select that. Choose a date to begin the time dimension. I'm going to go browse in here, and we know we had data in 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to start this with January 1st, 2008. Okay. Now my hierarchy, how granular do I want to be? I'm going to take day. I personally suggest you always take the day. And now I'm going to tie this into just January 1st. So I just tie 01 of this current year. It's so the calculations will work correctly. 01, and that's fine. And now I've got to set up this hierarchies, member associations. You see, here are the names that are in Analysis Services, but we don't necessarily know that whoever develops the cube is actually going to name it calendar year. They could have named it Bluebell Ice Cream. Can you tell us about lunch? All right, now I'm going to change. When we say calendar year, we mean year, so that when we do these time intelligence filters, when we pass, when PerformancePoint passes this information over to Analysis Services, it can make the translation. Quarter is quarter. Month is month. And date is day. Okay, and that looks good. And we'll go through and I'm going to save it. I'm going to just right click her up here and I'm going to save. Now we're going to create a KPI that'll work with that time intelligence filter. Of course, the first thing we're going to do is let's just go in here and we're going to take blank base scorecard. And we'll go ahead and create a copy of that. I'm going to paste it in because we do need a scorecard. Paste, let it come up. I'm going to go to Properties, and I'm going to call this Standard Time Intelligence. standard to differentiate this from a scorecard that actually is tied itself into analysis services. We're going to change the display folder, and I'm going to create a new one, 5.10, to match the exercise. Clever, huh? Go back over to the editor, and we're good to go on our scorecard. Now let's come through and create the KPI. So we're going to do a new KPI, and it's a blank KPI. I'm going to immediately go to the properties and put it in the correct folder. And we're going to call this 5.10, and we'll see OK. Now I'm going to call this, we're going to tie into KPI. I'm going to call it KPI just for, no I'm not. I'm going to call this sales amount. We'll call this time. And we're OK there. Now we're going to go over to the editor. And we've got this time in here. So now let's come through, and we're going to change this up. I'm going to call this time base. Now I'll go back over to the editor, and let's map it. So we're going to go into data mappings, change source, right? And I'm going to tie into my connection that actually has time intelligence, 5.10, time intelligence. Okay, I'm going to select sales amount, if I can find it. And we'll say OK. And that's good. We don't care about targets in here. You know, the target, you know, it's what we're trying to do is show you how we're mapping out the time intelligence. So now we're going to take that, we're going to add it, that being the KPI, and we're going to add it into our scorecard so that we have a base for comparison. And we'll expand out the little details. Look for KPIs, performance point, KPIs, 5.10, take sales amount, over there and drop it. Obviously I hosed this up somewhere. Let me clean this up a little. Oh. I opened the wrong scorecard. That's the one we want to open, 5.10. Let me expand this one out, expand that down, and I hope I didn't hose that last scorecard. Take this scorecard over here and drop her, or the KPI, call update off the edit tab. And we've got it. Again, we don't care about target. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take target, I'm going to right click target and delete it. We don't care about target. We're going to look at actuals. Okay, so there's my return of sales amount time base. Now let's go through and watch a time intelligence formula work. So back over here to sales amount, we're going to right click that, we're going to copy it, paste it back into the same folder. And now we'll, again, shrink this up to make our life a little easier, and let's change this. Now here we're going to go into sales amount. We've got the sales amount, we're going to go new time intelligence folder, and I'm going to go year -1 and click preview. All right, you see, this is MDX. This says that the date dimension, the calendar, year, quarter, month, date hierarchy, the calendar year member, and then 2007. All right, calendar year is a level, and then 2007. And we're going to say, okay, by the way, let me show you something in here. All right, I just threw in anything down here. When I put preview in here, you get this, when you get that, that means you hosed something in your code. This is really easy to work with. Again, preview, you got that. So now, this does not necessarily mean we're going to return data, but it does mean the query will run. So we're okay down here. Notice year -1, all right? And we're going to say okay. Now we're going to change the name of this. So I'm going to call this over here in this sales amount, and we're going to call this last year. 5.0, okay, we're good. Let's go back down to the correct scorecard. Expand that out. Expand out KPIs. Take 5.1 and move this out some so you can see what I'm doing. Here's last year. I'm going to take last year, I'm going to take it down there, next sibling, drop her down in here, and I'm going to call update. Now, if you'll notice, here's sales amount last year, right? So that tells me what I've gotten there. And then I could go back in and start adding other KPIs, or in any one KPI, if I wanted to put everything in the same KPI, again, remember over there in the editor, I could add a new actuals like we did before and just add other time dimension filters. The key to this whole thing is correctly configuring your time intelligence filter up here, your time intelligence connection. And by the way, I'm not so sure I would actually create many KPIs like that. Life's much easier if you connect KPIs in through filters and do it that way, which we cover a little bit later on.